Come on, you guys. I extended the wins out to 14 days.
Well, Ben, I threw it in the chat, but so just in the last 7, one of my listings went under contract, full list price, and I had just took another listing that went active last Thursday.
Man, that's great. Where did you get that other listing?
The first one was an old buyer lead that fell through, stayed in contact, and it's her ex-husband that needed to sell his place. So she referred me over to him. And the new listing is a referral from a friend.
Yeah, that's awesome. Caitlin said 2 listings under contract in the last week. Great. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Whoever was chiming in.
Sorry, that was me. I'm Shauna. I'm new here. I just closed today on a house that I got from my sphere of influence, and we managed to get almost $70,000 of repairs done and talk them down 25,000 on asking price. So yeah.
That's amazing.
It's a good one.
That is really great. $70,000 in repairs. That's big. Good job, Shauna. Kathy said 2 listings this week, one from a referral, 2.2 million, and another was a past client for 775,000. Both going to sell quickly. The agents I'm having do the open houses will be following our open house guru from the past trainings. Great job, Kathy. The open houses right now are, a lot of people are doing really well at the open houses. So that is great. Couple more. Who's got some wins last 14 days?
Hey Ben, this is Jessica. I'm not on camera because I'm driving, but basically my husband's driving me. But they last week I got 4 new listings from an investor. He does like fix and flip. So last week I got to close on one that he had given me last month and put one under contract that he'd given me last week, and then he gave me 4 more. So kind of changed my strategy as far as, I still have my other working clients, my other referral clients, but now I'm looking toward the end of the year. A lot of investors need to sell properties. So if anybody has a relationship with investors, you might kind of brush those off or take them to coffee, because this is the time of the year they start beginning to sell spots. They don't have to go to either industry, and they can roll over their money into a 1031.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. If you can get 1 or 2, maybe even 3 or 4 really good investor clients that are doing business with you, it's just a steady stream of buyers, and they turn into a steady stream of sellers at some point. So that's awesome. Great job.
Hey, Ben, it's Matt Harris down here in Myrtle Beach. I got one for you. I had 2 closings during the hurricane last Thursday. My investor client, that was transactions 9 and 10 since the first of the year. So despite the hurricane that was going on, or weather event, those closed last Thursday during the hurricane. So anyway, and then took a listing during the hurricane as well. So on Thursday.
Hopefully hopefully you didn't take the listing because of the hurricane. They're like, Matt, we're selling, we're moving to upstate New York where it's safe from tornadoes and hurricanes.
No, nothing like that at all, thankfully.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. It's great when, those closings happen on time. They don't get all, messed up because of, environmental stuff. So great job, Matt. Hurricane Matt, right on. All right, one more win. Who's got one more production related win?
It's Katie Wilson in Arizona, and I just put it in the chat, but I was able to help a sweet family buy a brand new spec home. Put about 150 miles on my car on Saturday, but it was well worth it, and they're thrilled.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what a find. I'm interested in my market. Since COVID, builders have stopped doing spec homes because of several reasons, but we have a couple clients right now, they're looking for spec homes and they're just not available. So that's great that you could land your buyer one of those. Move in, it's almost finished probably. They get a new home without having to wait the new home timeline.
Yeah, it's actually, there's quite a few down in this area, Casa Grande. You can get more for your money down there. That's why I drove from Cave Creek to Casa Grande, which is quite a ways. But this one, actually, they had seen it on Zillow and it was 40,000 more. It was out of their budget before. And when I sent it to them with a group of other homes, they're like, we want to see this one. So we got them a better deal. They're getting builder financing. So that's a win-win. So they're pretty happy, and they got a lot more square footage than they, even were expecting for their money.
Yeah. Now that is great. So thank you for sharing that with us. One thing as we kick off of this production mastermind of what's working now, one thing that we've seen our group do really, really well, and if you're not doing this, hopefully you can start doing this, is leveraging those clients into future business. So we will talk about having like Lars that runs Real Estate B School. We have the Rebs Promise. A lot of our agents use a promise. My team has a promise where we're taking our clients and we're saying, we promise to deliver this type of service to you. In return, we're going to ask you for a referral and a 5-star review. So I think kicking this call off, if you are not doing some kind of promise with your clients, it's a really easy thing to implement. It makes them feel like you really care about them. And that when you get to the end of the transaction and you say, hey, remember, I promised to give you this level of service and, we had this promise, they're going to want to give you referrals. And I think just as important as the referral is that 5-star Google review. My market, the average home right now is $200,000. We secured a buyer this weekend. We showed them 2 houses, got them under contract on a $665,000 home, strictly because of our Google reviews. They researched different agents. They saw that we had a lot of great 5-star reviews. They called us. They didn't interview any other agent. We had them under contract within 2 days, a couple of showings. So make sure that when you have these wins, that you're catapulting that into the next win using a promise and or the review. And grab as many of those Google reviews as possible so that when people are trying to find out, who's the agent to work with or doing a little research on you as they're looking you up, you have that platform that you can refer back to of like, hey, did you see my reviews? We want to earn your 5-star review as well. So kicking off what is working right now, I'm going to call on the great Melissa Thompson, who is bright in pink. Melissa, I want to hear what is working well for you and your team right now.
Hey, Ben, sure. Really, the open houses, kind of like what we mentioned before, they've been great. And we go into our listing just saying this is our plan to kind of blow it out of the water. So we, plan on listing Tuesday and Wednesday and have the open house over the weekend, but have all the things. So it gets the social media landing page, all of those things to really, get a lot of momentum going. And sorry, I'm at a car dealership. My brakes went out. So here I am. But anyways, open houses have been great. And really, we're just kind of going back to the basics, which everybody says as well. just making contacts. I have this thing called 60 points of rhythm. So if you can do this every day, how your business would move forward. It's like 5 note cards, talking to 25 people. It can be a bunch of different things that you have on this list, but it just makes you very mindful of what your productivity is during the day. So just trying to really, go back to the basics. It's really not that difficult. It's not some genie in a bottle, but it's just really doing something consistent every day that we're really focusing on and having accountability around.
Melissa, how are you communicating with your clients right now, or your potential clients, the state of the market?
Great question. So I've actually started a monthly webinar called State of the Market. So it's a webinar I do on Thursdays at noon, and then I send it out to all of our database as well. So I'm really studying the market and what that means. And it's not trying to sway people one way or the other. It's really just giving them the information. So here's where we are. There truly is a cost of waiting that I need people to realize what that looks like. So just laying out that information for them. If they wait for the rates to come down, what's going to cost them, where our market is, where the overall market is. So that's what I've implemented actually in the past couple of months, actually just doing this webinar and getting it out to all of our clients, and then doing the replay again. And then of course you can post it on YouTube to get some additional business, but there's no slant. It's just the fact. So that's what I'm really trying to tell them, about the market as well.
Yeah, that's great. So, on this call, once a month, we do the market update. Stacy Peterson usually hosts it. We use the Keeping Current Matters data. I know there's a person on this call too that's just been using the Keeping Current Matters, market update video service. She's sending out videos to her clients. So if you're on this call and you have not been a part of one of our market updates, you definitely want to log into that. I think it's next week that we're doing it, but Lars is always talking to us about taking that data and using it in the form of video for our clients on social media. But Melissa, I think it's great that you're doing the webinar for it. How long does it take you to prepare for that? And then how long is the webinar itself?
It takes a lot, actually. So I'm probably spending a couple hours. It's Keeping Current Matters is wonderful, but it's an overview of the market, across the nation. So really drilling down to my market, to the Memphis market as well. And then Barry Habib, if you've heard him and follow him on Instagram and stuff, his stuff is amazing too, and just kind of can help you put the cookies on the bottom shelf for everybody as well, as I like to put it. But then even if they just register for the webinar, they get a replay of it too. So anyways, just notify them every month that I'm doing it. So, but to answer, it's at noon on Thursdays where they come, or whether it's not. It's probably 20 to 30 minutes max. But I have a slideshow presentation, just kind of going through the facts and let them ask questions. I tell them I'll answer their questions. But just so they can see there's no agenda, just providing them information that they're not getting, from the market.
Melissa, if I have never done one of these market updates and I'm super scared to do it, can you give everybody on the call maybe 2 or 3 tips of how to just get started with it?
And basically just doing it, to be honest with you, because I'm like, you're going to mess up and you're going to do it. But again, having the slides that will kind of prompt me to what I want to talk about, and then just taking notes and listening to Keeping Current Matters, 2 or 3 times, jotting your notes down, getting really used to the numbers in your market. So I know your market, going through Keeping Current Matters, and like I said, Barry Habib, and then just kind of write down what you want the presentation to kind of look like in the flow. So, and just do it time and time again. It doesn't have to be different. So you just kind of start, here's the highlights. Even if it's 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's not a time period. It's just kind of getting the message across, and people going, oh my goodness, she's just providing me, real data for my area and the area as a whole. So just kind of studying, and it helps you. And you know what it's helping me do is pass on this information to my team. So it's letting me really know the data and really study and what it means. And then I can even help my own team, to interpret that data to their clients as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing with those videos is just to come at it real. Doesn't need to be perfectly scripted. I love that you do the webinar, because if you mess up, you don't hit pause and re-record. a thousand times. So you're just putting it out there. And, you know, the people that are going to watch are probably people that know you, or even if they don't know you, they're going to see you as, hey, this is who she is. It's a real person. I don't think you need like, you know, nightly news production type for these reports.
And Webinar Jam is the service that I'm using. So it's like they record it and then let you download it, you know, to YouTube and then send it out, you know, for a blog post, for Pete's sake. So there's so many ways, things that we do that we need to realize how we can repurpose it as well. But it's called Webinar Jam. It's not very expensive, but I just plan on utilizing that a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Melissa, we're going to get back to you in a minute because I want to hear a little bit more about the 60 point of rhythm that your clients are doing. But
Okay.
Harrison, you're on the call. You just gave a thumbs up to Webinar Jam. Are you guys doing something similar?
We are absolutely not. It sounds like a great idea. We have gone full old school with our approach to how to go hunt listings, and we're mainly listing focused at the moment. We won't turn down buyers, but a lot of times we will just refer out the buyers. Just because the market is just so tough and brutal with everything. I just heard it. I closed on my best friend's dad's house today. I'm in the closing attorney's office. They're letting me use the Zoom. And it's so funny because I got on the phone with him and he said, hey, if you can get me X number to sell my home, let's do it. I'd love to do it. There feels like, at least with the conversations I'm having, so many people that would love to get the equity out of their home. We just have to work a little bit harder from a real estate side to find them somewhere to go. So we got him into a rental. He was comfortable enough to go into a rental. I mean, we had this conversation early on. He said, hey, I need to make this number. If you can give me this number, which I knew we could because that's the kind of market we're in. You got a full price, all cash offer. Which are up massively in our market, I guess, because of the equity. But he said, if you can give me this number, then let's do it. But you have to find me somewhere else to go. And so we actually worked harder, almost became a renting agent to find him somewhere to go, to pull on the listings. But what we are doing in our area is a lot of outbound phone calls. So we are taking this approach where me and a really good friend of mine, who we were on a real estate team for a long period of time. I've been in real estate now 5 years, and I was on a real estate team for the first 4 of them. And we've just split off of that team. Now, this is a very productive team. They sell several hundred homes a year. I mean, they're juggernauts, like they're legit in the marketplace. And me and this guy who he's been in real estate for a year, we put our numbers together this morning, and he's doing some outbound stuff with me in this market as well. We have as many listings on the books right now between the both of us as that 30 to 40 person team in our area. And we think the big reason why is the juggernauts, the top agents, everybody. I'm curious because I want to know what people here actually think about this, because I have a thesis and I could be completely wrong, but I'd love to hear what people think. Is we're in a market now where you have to go actively hunt your business. It doesn't come easy like it used to, where the rates are so low, people are upsizing, people are downsizing, businesses thrown at you all the time. Now you have to go actually hunt your business and go out there and get it. And it feels like the juggernauts, the top producers, the people that got all of the listings that me and this kid are getting now, they're not doing the energy and effort that you guys talk about, that we talk about on this call, to go out there and say, hey, this is the value that we can provide for you. They're going out and they're sending the postcards and they're doing all the stuff that used to work when the market's easy. That stuff works. Now we're actually picking up the phone, and that's been the only thing we are doing is actually picking up the phone and calling either our database, one, because I think there's a lot of education to be done on the database, because a lot of people want to sell. Again, we just have to figure out the back end for them. And also we're calling on strangers. So we have a kind of it's not a cold call operation, but we're doing the really old school approach of withdrawn and expireds. I listed my biggest home from a withdrawn listing. It withdrew 6 months ago, and I gave him a call and said, hey, what happened? You know, they had their home on the market for a couple weeks. We have some pretty good scripts. So anyway, sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent, but I'm seeing a lot of the top producers though that used to be the juggernauts, and they still are. They still sell a lot of homes, but they don't know how to go hunt and get the business now. They're used to the business coming to them. They're used to retail. And if we take this approach of going out there and getting it, then I think there's a competitive advantage there. At least that's what we're seeing in our market. I'd love to know if people are seeing it at other places too.
Yeah, that's great. Old school, pick up the phone. I'm curious, there's 109 people on the call. I'm curious if you're bold enough to put in the chat, if you hate phone calls, put in the chat me. If you hate phone calls, put in the chat me. Yeah, it's not easy. Harrison, give us 1, 2, maybe 3 nuggets about how you've overcome that phone call fear. Because clearly, and listen, I have that reluctance. I also love deals, so I can push through that reluctance a little bit more. But what are some of the things that you and your friend are doing that are really driving you to get on that phone?
Yeah, so I fall into that category of not loving the monotony of making those calls and having that fear of the calls. And it's we are so underachieving. I'm talking about me at this point, underachieving, because if we were smart and put our foot on the gas, this is the only thing we would be doing, because it's converting. For us, it's about 1 in every 7 or 8 we draw a legitimate contact out of. And so the conversion has been really, really good out of it. So for us, this is our biggest thing that we've done that has changed a lot of stuff for us. So instead of calling that person that withdrew their listing 6 months ago and saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I could help you, I could do this, I could do that. Instead, this is our approach to the conversation. And this could be wrong or it could be right. It's working for us at this point. Hey, Mr. Seller, I'm a real estate agent. I have a buyer for your property, because I work with either a real estate investor. If the price is right, I'll have somebody come in and buy it myself. Or we have a database of buyers. There's a chance I legitimately have a buyer. But either way, I have a buyer for your home. Are you interested in selling it? Yay or nay? And so that's been the biggest thing, is we come to it, instead of coming to it from a place of, hey, I'm a real estate agent, let me try to build a rapport with you. It's no. Hey, I have a buyer for your home. Are you interested in selling it? Or because guess what? If they are interested and they think I have a buyer, they're going to want to talk to me, because wait a minute now, I'm going to sell them. I have a buyer for their home, and they try to put it on the market a couple months ago. So now they think, hey, wait a minute. And I want to be truthful about it, because I do have a buyer if the price is right. If the price is good, then I can get a buyer in there, no problem. If they want something, if they want fair market, then I'll pivot the conversation and say, okay, great. Well, if you want that price, we're going to have to go on the open market to get you that price. And this is kind of the things that I would do in order to get it. But it's funny, because the friend that I'm talking about, he's been in the business 1 year, and he's got, I think, 6 listings just kind of in his name now, completely new to the area. 1 year in, he has no call reluctance. His goal is to make 20 contacts a day. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, because there's some people that legitimately like it. But again, that's why I talk about just massively underachieving at it, because if I was smart, this would be the only thing I would be doing. Foot on the gas, calling these people. Hey, I have a buyer for your home. Are you interested? And then obviously you build rapport with them. It's not a sales conversation. You build rapport, but that's the leader, because if they're on the other line and they have interest, they're going to want to talk to me because I have a buyer for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any, so some of the comments are like, they're worried about the DNC, the do not call list. Richie dropped in, like, he's been doing this a long time. He doesn't really worry about that. Do you guys pay for service to kind of scrub through some of that, Harrison, or are you just going all in?
Yeah, we use Mojo Dialer for the service, and there's a couple other online. I know, like Vulcan 7 is a really good contact list to kind of scrub the data. But honestly, if you have somebody that doesn't want to talk to you, and if the fear is to call somebody on the do not call list, you'll never call anybody. I mean, you got to, at a certain point, just say, hey, I'm trying to do a service for you. It's not a cold call because they've raised their hand to put their home on the market. So there is some level of interest there no matter what. So that's kind of how we get around that. And if they don't want to sell it, okay, no problem. And what we'll do on every conversation we'll have, if we talk to them, they get a handwritten note from us right after we talk to them. We send it in the mail. That's been something that's been amazing for us, is that handwritten note, because you build such a good bond when you do that. It kind of catches people off guard a little bit, especially now. So we'll send them that handwritten note with maybe a $5 or $10 coffee gift card. And man, do people love it. And if that's the place you're coming from, like genuinely, hey, I'm trying to help you. If you got a problem, I want to be able to provide a solution. Then it becomes less salesy and less, I think I know that's for me.
That's
that's
my problem with that, what he just said.
Is to avoid that sale.
It's not everybody on this call has a buyer. Well, I'm telling you.
Hey, Mark. So I hear you chiming in. I don't know if you meant to that or not, but what Harrison was saying was he keeps an investor in his back pocket that will buy it,
multiple,
depending on the price. So that is, there's always an investor that will buy the house. So I think going into it with the spirit of, hey, I want to help you sell it, so you're trying to get the foot in the door when you do have somebody that'll buy it, whether that's the price they want or the price they don't want. Is that right, Harrison?
Yeah. And we will. I mean, if it's somebody that just, hey, send us an offer, I do have somebody that will submit an offer. Now, whether they like the offer or not, then that's on them. But so we legitimately do have a buyer for them. And it's just an investor list that they want to pull the trigger on something. Buy and hold investors typically. Some of them are creative finance investors. But yeah, we make sure that we legitimately, I'm not calling them say we have a buyer if we don't, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm actually training my team with this call. So we were just having a discussion. So sorry about that.
No, you're good, Mark. So Lars had mentioned too that they used RedX in their business. We did one of the production masterminds. I think it was a couple weeks ago. RedX was on talking about their platform, which is really good. But Mojo, Vulcan 7, RedX, I think the point that Harrison is driving home is that the old, not old school, but the way to do business right now, and there's a lot of ways to slice this up. There's a lot of ways to get leads and things like that. But picking up the phone is one of the best right now. And it, so some people, they might not have a lot of expireds. They might not have a lot of withdrawals, but you can also just pick up the phone with your database. Melissa, will you, jumping back to you quickly, will you kind of run us through that 60 points of rhythm that you were doing with your team and kind of what that looks like? So if somebody doesn't have like a process or a system with their database, can you share what you and your team do?
Sure. So if you just think about your day, a lot of us think, well, we've been, super busy today, but then when you drill down to it, you really haven't been. So you have an option of 25 phone calls, 25 emails, 5 written notes. If you have a buyer in the car, that's worth 5 points. If you have a new buyer appointment, that's another 5. Lunch with a sphere or client, that's 10. If you have an offer written, that's 10. Contract signed and completed, it's 10. And a closing is 10. So, you can assure dead if you didn't have some appointment, by making, 25 calls, 25 emails, and 5 written notes, just different things, however you want to skin a cat. But it's just making you see how productive or unproductive you are. So I just call it 60 points of rhythm. If you do that every day, you cannot tell me that your business won't be changed if you're really mindful of what you're really focusing on.
So your points are broken down into actions, and each action has a value. And so you're trying to get your team to reach that value, whether they do it in, 10-point chunks or whether they do it in 1-point chunks.
Correct.
Yeah. Would you do us a favor and just put that in the chat?
Sure.
And
I've got the form too. I'll share the form, I can share it to Stacy and let her put it in the Facebook group or whatever as well, if anybody wants it. So just a daily check list, but yes, absolutely. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be really great. All of us learn and connect and progress in different ways. And so we have 103 people on this call. Some people are going to resonate with Harrison and be like, I'm just going all in, bulldog, madman phone, and just go after it. And other people might resonate with other strategies. And it might be like, hey, I just need to achieve these 60 points. How am I going to do it? And the beauty is we're all different. We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. But if you can stick around this group long enough and find what you're really good at, and you just go really deep on that and not try and go too wide, you will find success. I heard Alex Hormozy recently, going through his new book, $100 Million Offers, and a term that he uses is get niche slapped. And so I think that's something that on here, all of us can sit back and say, do I need to get niche slapped? Am I trying to do, the great thing about Lars and Stacy and the production masterminds is like they have this really great plan offering all kinds of different ways to succeed. And so we get on these calls and we're like, oh yeah, we've got to do this. Oh yeah, we've got to do that. And so we can take little bits away from it, or we can say, hey, listen, this is what I'm working on right now. I'm going really deep with it. So our group, my team, all summer long have been going after our database and just going real deep at it. And I hear people like, oh, you've got to do this and that. And I'm like, it's great. I'm just going deep on my database and I'm watching. So I have an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm just watching the database grow. And it's like, oh, because my mind is so focused on it. Everybody I'm talking to, I'm like, oh, they should be in my database. They should get my newsletter. They should get my video email. And so think about for a minute, do you need to get niche slapped? And if you do, call me up. I'll be happy to do it for you. I'm just kidding. So yeah, Melissa, share that 60-point rhythm with Stacy, and Stacy, hopefully you can get it in the group and everybody can go into the Facebook group and pull that out, and then just kind of play the game with yourself. Maybe find somebody else in your office and hold each other accountable with it, because I think that's great. Harrison, are you guys, when you get these listings, are you doing these open houses? Are you going all in on open houses, or are you just getting the listing and moving on to the next one?
We'll try to do it. Depends on the seller. Some of our sellers don't want to do it. Obviously, that's common here. So we'll offer 2 open houses a month is generally how we do it. And there's local agents in our market that will conduct the open house for us a lot of times. So yeah, we definitely need to update the open house stuff, especially with a lot of the things in this call and conversation. Our market is probably similar to a lot of people on this call. Things generally go pretty quickly within 30 days. If it's not under contract, there's a little bit of an issue there. We priced it too high or whatever. So we definitely try to get at least an open house in if we can, if the seller wants, but we gotta be much better at that because a lot of people are looking on the weekends and they want to come into that open house. We've heard of a lot of good stories about that recently.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so we've got about 20 minutes left. We're going to leave that time for questions, either for Melissa or Harrison, or if you have any other questions. I know there's a lot of top agents on this call. We just talked to Melissa and Harrison specifically because, we haven't had them on a call recently, and we know that they're doing really great things in their market. So I want to take the remaining time. If you have anything that you're doing really well, you might think it's something really small, but it could impact somebody else who's on this call. Or if you have any questions for Melissa or Harrison or for the group in general, go ahead and put them in the chat or feel free to unmute, and we'll spend the next 20 minutes just kicking some ideas around if anybody has any questions. Stacy, Kelly asked what group you're going to post that in. Is she on here still? Okay, she's off. Lars, what group are you? Lars,
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
able to chime in?
Yep. Yeah. It'll be, if you're a B School member, it'll be in the training in B School. We'll just attach it as an attachment. And if you're Game Changers, it'll be in the Game Changers Facebook group.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Stacy saw Ben was leading the call today, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm out of here." All right. Any questions for Melissa, Harrison, or anything that you are doing that you think would be great for other people to hear?
Hey, I want to say this really quick, Ben, just on our side. We take the at least I do. We adopt the 2-10-40 approach to this outbound connections. So we're trying to hit when we're talking about these withdrawals and expireds. We just try to do 10 per week. And if we make the calls appropriately, then that generally will lead to anywhere between 3 to 5-ish appointments. One appointment a week is kind of the idea. So it's nothing that's too major. We still sell a lot to the database individually, but this is just the way to go out and get some new business. So it's 10 a week, which is just, it's so embarrassing to say out loud, but that's really what at least I am doing on the outbound stuff.
So what does that mean, Harrison? 2-10-40. You're having 10 phone calls per week?
We'll try to hit 10. We try to talk to 10 people. So we either do it 2 a day, which could be more calls than 2, obviously. But 10, really, I like to judge it 10 a week. I try to have 10 conversations a week. And it's so funny because I've been in the business for a couple years. A couple years ago, I would have laughed at somebody on the call saying this. I mean, because it's just so antiquated. But I think Lars put it in the chat, which is, I think it just tricks my mind into having more conversations. And it's just as simplistic as that. And for me, I was never a big listing agent. I was always a buyer's agent. And so I've been able to kind of step out and get more into that listing agent side. And it's really been a positive impact on just the business and everything. So, I just wanted to say that the 10 a week kind of idea.
So what's so you're trying to talk to 2 people per day to have like real estate related conversations, like, hey, you're looking to sell your house. So 10 a week.
Yes.
40.
Yes.
40. The 40 is how many per month?
Yes. Sorry. It's like the agent attraction revenue share model, but putting it into this one.
Yeah. And so out of those 10 people that you're talking to, you're hoping to get how many appointments, Harrison?
One.
And if you can get in the door and have that appointment, you're pretty secure that you're going to get the listing.
We'll get the listing on that.
Yeah. So in your model, you could easily do 50 listings per year.
That's the idea. And this other person in our market, I mean, he does 20 a day. He just has a little bit of a different conversation, and he'll canvas the neighborhoods, and he does a lot more. It's just way more impressive how he does it. 20 a day. And he told me this morning, because I called him this morning, and he's like, yeah, I got probably, and he's not a BSer. He's telling me the truth. He said, I have 10 or 15 legitimate sellers in my contacts right now that will sell eventually in the next 12 months or whatever the case is. Well, no wonder he's calling 20 of these suckers a day. He's talking to 20 a day. I mean, that's his idea. He's calling way more than that.
Yeah. Couple quick questions for Harrison. What market are you in?
We're in Savannah, Georgia. I know we got another Savannah, Georgia agent in here, Ed Gannett. We do Savannah and a little bit of Charleston, South Carolina as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then how far, did you answer that? How far you go back?
We typically pull a 6-month list. We probably could do longer than that. Typically the ones that are a little bit further out are a little bit more advantageous. So we'll have we pulled a 6-month list. Now, when we pull the list, we'll just pull it straight from the MLS. We scrub that list pretty good, obviously. So if you go in and you see a house that maybe is overpriced or needs too much work, or maybe it's not sellable, we're not even gonna mess with that. We get a good quality list of good sellable homes. We got somebody else in Savannah in here. So yeah, 6 months. But to be honest with you, there's probably a big market for a lot longer than 6 months ago, because these people are maybe entertaining it, especially with how the prices are going. But that's at least the data that we've pulled recently.
Yeah, and Lars made a comment, which I totally agree with that. So you guys are going back 6 months and you're finding enough inventory to call. But what we've seen in our market is you can go back as far as the beginning of COVID.
Wow.
And see houses that were listed at the beginning of COVID came off of the market and have yet to return to the market.
Yeah.
Now, not every single one is deciding they want to sell now, but every single one wanted to sell a few years ago. And so if you don't know who to call, you're like, gosh, there's not that many in my market, even going back 6 months, go back 2 or 3 years, find out if they have sold, give them the number from what your house was worth back in 2020. This is what it's worth now. And I'm sure their jaw is going to drop, and they've probably kept up with it a little bit. But COVID affected a lot of people, and it's people are kind of coming out of that a little bit. And I'm sick of, I don't even want to be talking about it. But the truth is, you can go back 2 or 3 years, like Lars said, and there's a lot of people that have not sold back then that might be considering it now. So if you don't know who to call, and you're go back 2 or 3 years, and there's still probably a lot of opportunity there.
I want to add one thing too, Ben, that we've done as well. Just based on a listing appointment that I went on, they bought in 2020. Of course, multiple offers, well, guess who's upset about their purchase? They are, because it didn't have inspections. They spent $120,000, doing things that they wanted. It wasn't like it was a fixer upper, but anyway, she's just upset. So we're going back to people that bought during that time, just asking them if they're happy with their purchase. Because guess what? They're not. I hated that time that you didn't have, that was just the market. You had 50 people lined up to see the house. It's just the frenzy. But it's a great conversation to have, because you shouldn't be afraid to ask the question. Yes, I had the opportunity to go in and go, I'm so sorry. You realize it was just the market, and they totally did. But it was a great conversation. So it just got me to thinking. I was like, let's just go back and ask all of our clients that we sold during that time, are you happy? They're moving to Florida. I'm in Memphis, so they're moving away. But anyways, it was interesting concept to think. Guess what? We may be missing that opportunity because they may not be happy with, their purchase at that time, because there's slim pickings to choose from.
Awesome.
I think that's a great comment. If you're on this call and you have some past clients from the last 3, maybe 4 years, simply making the phone call and asking them if they're happy. Hopefully it has nothing related with you, the agent, but what a great call, and which leads into making sure that you're going really deep on your past clients. And, in Real Estate B School, one of the first things we will coach our clients on is setting up a client for life program, where you have a system that is constantly nurturing and caring for those past clients, so that they will return to you without a doubt. And so, I know Melissa has that dialed in really well, but even with that system, that phone call is still such a personal touch. So that's really great. I'm going to write that one down. Are you happy? So what do you say, Melissa? Are you happy with the home? Are you happy with your purchase?
Yeah, just checking in. It just gave a conversation. Yes, we do follow up and have a great client for life kind of thing, but just double checking. Like I said, I went to this listing and he was upset with me. He was like, I bought this house and had all these issues. And I was like, well, as an agent on my team, I was like, you realize there's 50 people in line waiting for the house. It's like, oh, I know, it's like totally understood his situation, why he bought. I didn't have a gun to his head. But anyways, it just allowed him to kind of vent and allowed us to talk about it. But I thought that's a great thing, just to check with people to see if they are happy with it, because they may not be.
Yeah. What a great conversation to have. And very easy opening too. All right, we got about 10 minutes left. Anybody have anything that they're doing that think, hey, somebody in this group might really be able to get something out of this? Feel free to unmute. We'd love to hear it. Or if you have any questions for Melissa or Harrison, or just questions in general. There was a question, I'll jump back. Melissa, Harrison, do either of you, like, are you guys, Melissa, you've run a team for a little while. Do you do any farming in neighborhoods or anything?
We've gotten away from it. We've just doubled down on our current sphere and database. It's such a long game, which is fine, but you need, 2 to 3 years to kind of see results in that. So we just really just double down on our people that already know, like, and trust us.
Yeah, Brittany, I think that would probably be the consensus. There might be somebody on the call that has done farming really well, but it's definitely a long game. I know personally, like, from a vanity standpoint, I want, like, all of my neighbors to know who I am. But I don't do it because I think that it is a long game. You have to financially be prepared for that. I think what Harrison and Melissa are talking about, just going deep on the phone calls. Sometimes we use farming as a way of, like, thinking that we're doing great marketing and we're making all of these contacts when, just picking up the phone is probably a little better thing. But is there anybody on the call, like, crushing it with farming? Yeah, Brittany, I don't know. I don't know if anybody is, but make sure that if you're thinking about it, it's not because you don't want to do the activity of picking up the phone and reaching out to your database and going deep on things like that. And by the way, just on a side note, a lot of agents don't have a financial formula to work with, and so, when you think about, you're going to be going into planning for 2024, you think about your GCI, you want to budget 10% of that GCI to marketing and advertising. So some agents will dump a lot of money into marketing and advertising thinking, hey, I'll make a profit someday. But we know that profit is not an event. And so, if you're thinking about, Brittany, if you're thinking about doing some kind of farming, make sure that it lands within that 10% budget. Any other questions for the group, or anything that people are doing that you think you're doing something well? Maybe it's unique that we should hear about.
I'd be happy to share one thing I'm doing alongside my expired prospecting.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah. So, do I have the capability to share a screen or not right now?
I don't think you do right now. Can you run us?
Yeah. So, basically, what I'm sending out is what I'm calling like an instant trust packet to those new expireds and old expireds that I am then calling and prospecting. Just to add a little bit of extra, juice to what I'm talking about. So I send them a packet when the property either first goes off the market, or, if it comes into my database and they expired a year ago. Basically, when it comes into my database, it's a couple documents, basically a 10-page packet that I have bound with like a three punch with some string, cover letter, basically my process and like how I, find the value of the house, testimonials, what my differentiating factor is. And then I have a little bit shorter packet that I put on top of it, 3 pages, showing the importance of professional photography, some examples of drone shots, and specifically expired listings that had like cell phone photos from the agent previously. And I have a side-by-side comparison of my listing of that house, what it sold for, and then what that other agent was doing. And have examples of their cell phone photography, or, pets or the owner in the pictures. I have a couple of examples of those in a 3-page document saying photos and like the first impression is one of the most important things on your listing. And then right on the top of that, so I have the 2 packets, and a small packet, larger packet that says like my home sale plan. And then the top page is a checklist where it says a good agent, a great agent, and what our team is doing. And it's basically a like 42-point checklist of like Do we do professional photography? Good agent? No. Great agent? Yes. Our team? Yes. And basically going down all these different value points of what we are doing for our listings. I send that out to them the first day. And then the second time, I'm about a week later, 2 weeks later, I'm sending them a physical book that basically has the materials of those packets that I'm sending. I write them a handwritten letter, stick it in the cover of the book and say, hey, I saw you were trying to sell your home. This is a plan to sell your home on your own. Like if you want to implement and sell your home for sale by owner, here is exactly how you do it. But it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. So if you'd like to actually save that time and hire a professional that's doing it on a regular basis, give me a call. I'm happy to have a conversation and let you know what we do. And then I'm scattering postcards in there and, other letters periodically, but that's kind of how I start off the process. And then I'm calling them, having cold call conversations with them. And usually it's a little bit more of a warm conversation of, oh yeah, I got your packet in the mail. Like we're not interested in selling today, but follow up with me in 3 months. Or, it's less of the stop effing calling me and more of the, hey, we're not ready today, but we really liked what you sent over. So call us in a few months when we're going to be more seriously thinking about it.
Yeah. Brian, that's great. Richie asked if you would be willing to share that package. I don't know if that's something, if you have access to email that to us, we can send that to Richie.
Okay.
But what I want to highlight about what Brian's doing is he has a system for these for sale by owners. He has a system with it so that he's not just doing one thing. He has a system and a plan with it. And if you implement the system and you just work that system and you're not just shotgunning it saying, hey, I called some FSBOs and it didn't work, I'm never doing that again. Build out that system like Brian's doing. And then, like he said, it's kind of a warm touch. Like he sends something in the mail. I know some people in our group have expired systems where they're sending like, wedding invitation type envelopes with really nice, handwriting and letterhead and things like that. So I think, Brian, that's great. If people are working on the for sale by owners and expired listings and they don't have a system with some follow-up in the mail, you should work on getting that going. There was a question about where are you getting the phone numbers? So I think we've answered it. There's services like RedX, Vulcan 7, or Mojo that you can subscribe to that they will import that data into your phone list for you. And then you can use their dialer or your own dialer. All right, we got 2 minutes. This has been a great call, so I'm going to eat up the last 2 minutes. If anybody has anything, we can share it real quick. Hey, Lars dropped in the chat. Thank you, Melissa and Harrison. It was really good. I got a page full of notes that I niche slap myself once a week. But some of these little things I can still implement into what I'm currently working on. So thank you both for being here. Brian, thanks for sharing. Everybody that has chimed in the chat and on the call, we appreciate it. This is just a group that really wants to help everybody. And for me, it's great to be a part of the group. So until next Tuesday, same time, same place, you guys be well. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Ben, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right.